Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our class on the topics of Islam and global politics. Of course, the name of the topics is it seems to be very strange to most of you, as well as some of you may wonder why we must or we have to learn about Islam, which is may not connected directly to IR or to many politics in this modern world. But anyhow, allow us to learn this subject for some time. Maybe after first lecture or even after few lectures, you will gradually realize the value. Not I don't say important. You may realize the value of the subject, which will enable you to understand many of world issues, especially many of conflicts in the world. Roughly, you may see that the conflicts in this world occur between some Muslim countries and the West, or generally to say conflicts occur between some Muslims and the West. Now, our topics or our subjects, Islam and global politics, its descriptions covers some things. Just like in this subject, you will learn about, the course syllabus will be distributed to all of you at break times. Okay. Maybe after 10 o'clock, 10 a.m. Okay, just wait. Okay. So now just look to it on the screen and I will explain. So you will learn about the role of Islam in global politics. What is meant by role of Islam in global politics? Now, most countries are modern nation states, and these modern nation states tend to go on with Western protocol, with Western norms. And what is mean by Western protocol or Western norms? The Western norms is all about the belief in secularism. It's all about the belief in secularism. So most ministers, most politicians, or most administrators must go on with their duties and work according to the belief or the true belief in secularism. Even in Thailand for most times is known as one of the great centers for Buddhism. But you see nothing come out from the Thai politicians to move the country along with the Buddhist doctrines. Anyhow, Thai politicians and Thai administrators as well as Thai ministers must run the country on the basis of the belief in secularism, no Buddhism. Okay. That's why when the truth in the world is based on this thing, it's then come to direct conflicts with Muslims. Because generally people in this world believe in some religions, some particular religions, whether Buddhism or Christianity or Islam or some other great religion. So generally people, the religious people, love to implement and practice their own Dhammic teachings, their own religious teachings. But when the norm of the world is all about secularism, is all about the refuse of refuse things concerned with religions. So they are ashamed to directly or openly implement their own Dhammic religious practice in the administration or in running the country or even in doing their business and jobs. Okay. That's why you can see that for Buddhist people, for good Buddhist people, the minimum requirement is to practice 5 sila. And in 5 sila, drinking alcoholic drink is not good things. But Thai people, young, especially young generation, new generation, while this generation, when they get jobs or in any kind of celebration within their own companies and business firm, they must drink alcoholic drinks. Okay. So this is some kinds of secularism. So the role of Islam in global politics. Then one thing you know that most Muslim modern nation state was once the colonial states or the colonial possessions of the Western powers. While the West ruled Muslim lands, all of the Western powers forced their subjects not to bring their own religion, not to bring Islamic teachings, to interfere, to be mixed with the administration, or to bring it to implement in trading, in investment, or in monetary affairs. Now you might have seen Islamic banks, even in Thailand, Islamic Bank of Thailand. So among Muslim nations, among Muslim modern nation states, there are perhaps 57 or 58 of them. Only few of them have Islamic bank. Not every Muslim country has Islamic banks. Why? To establish Islamic bank, it is one of very complicated matters, and also it requires each of particular countries require human resources. One who is keen in Islamic law as well as know things about modern financial issues. So that's why many Muslim countries could not establish its own Islamic bank in their own countries. Second thing is that Islamic bank as well as Islamic financial system, Islamic monetary system is also contrary with the conventional system, also contrary with the Western monetary system. Just like one of the things that the Islamic bank refused the use of or the utilize of usury and interest. Then wonder many people that how come we can run a bank without gaining profits of usury and interest. So it's very complex and difficult. But look to Thailand. That's why Thailand received admiration from many Muslim countries, and also many Muslim countries admire Thailand. Not for the case of Islamic Bank, but also for the issues of halal food. Thailand become one of leading countries that produce halal food and export halal food. So the role of Islam in global politics. Then, okay, just now I told you that most Muslim countries was once colonial states, belong to or under the rule of Western powers. Then when they gain independence, the country emerged, these kinds of modern nation state emerged. But when it emerges, it becomes modern nation state. But it has to run the countries. It has to run its own country itself on the way that the West has paved for it. Now come conflicts between the regimes and the subject. Most regimes in Muslim countries are faithful to the West. They try their best to run the country in accordance with what the West have created for them and paved way for them. But the subjects, they are generally poor and illiteracy or less education, but they want Islam. They want to practice Islam, or they want the countries to implement more and more Islamic teachings. Therefore, there will be conflicts, and no doubt there will be conflicts between the grassroots or the people or the majority of the people and the state or at the regimes. But due to the teachings of Islam, the overall teaching of Islam, as you might have learned from your previous education institutions or in school times, that Islam means peace. So by this it controls majority of Muslims, billions of them, to live peacefully and to be in great passion with the activities and intentions of their own regimes and government. So now things will come to you. You will hear some terms just like Islamist, jihadis. When news come to you, when you go through news in the world, some jihadis plant bombs somewhere, or the Islamists coming out in the streets, shouting and demanding the regimes to implement more Islamic teachings. That's why Islamists mean those who do not believe in secularism, do not want to continue with the legacies of the West. And Islam as vehicle for political mobilization. Then by this thing, you may see for the case of Malaysia. From last 5 decades or 6 decades, when Malaysia first gained independence from the British Empire, the country emerged as a very, very poor country. Everything collapsed. Nothing. Even universities is also very difficult. Malaysia was having only one universities which was called the University of Malaya. But when something happened that Malaysia has to sacrifice some parts of its own land, it has to cut Singapore and allow Singapore to gain independence. Malaysia also lost this only one university it had. It lost the main campus of the University of Malaya. So the country also suffered from new things, from the sphere of education, especially in graduation. So the country has to struggle for another decades to establish new universities and fighting for new campus, because the main campus now lost to them, now become main universities in Singapore. Then the countries also emerged as a pure secular country. Many prime ministers come and gone. But as they passed, there were demands, and increasing the demands in implementation of Islamic teachings in Malaysian administration and in Malaysian foreign policies and anything. So you can see now that you can see the difference. Roughly, you can see the difference. The difference between Malaysia and Indonesia. Of course, Malaysia is quite smaller than Indonesia, but roughly look to Malaysia, you can see the influence of Islam in Malaysian's administration more than Indonesia. And even now, after 6 decades passed, Indonesia still going on its belief in secularism. First, for last 6 decades, Malaysia and Indonesia is almost same to the eyes of many Islamists. No difference. Both appear as the new secular state. But after 5 decades passed, Malaysia moved more and more toward Islam. And Malaysia used the implementation of the policy of Islamization. This term is also important, Islamization. Islamization is mean to Islamize the, suppose in the areas of education, just like in Thailand, it is secular education. It's not Buddhist education, but secular. So in this education, the Malaysian government has to Islamize it, bring the spirit of education close more and more to Islam. So in administration also, it also Islamized the administration and to the field of tradition, the long tradition of the country, which was heavily influenced by the Hindu traditions, just like in Thailand, Pram tradition, Thamniam Pram. In Malaysia also, because the last 1,000 years, last 800 years, the Brahmic religion, Brahmic and Hinduism was religion for peoples in Suvarnabhumi, for peoples in this Southeast Asia. So Brahmic religions and Hinduism left many legacies on the Malay traditions, even in names and Malay vocabularies. Many belong to Sanskrit and Pali. So Islamization, many sultans and people in the Malay palaces also practice the Hindu and Brahmic traditions. Then they have to Islamize. Islamize means reducing the non-Islamic elements from the palace tradition, like that. Reducing the non-Islamic elements, I mean the Brahmic and Hindu elements from the palace protocol and tradition, and increasing more and more Islamic elements, like that. So this is called Islamization. That's why after these numbers of decades, Malaysia appeared to be more Islamic, to be more Islamic features, Islamic elements in its own countries. Then you will not only be encouraged to critically discuss the structures and influence of Islam in different areas. Now may be difficult to you, but after 5 or 7 lectures, you can now select some areas. You may interest in Central Asia, some countries in Central Asia, or you may select the issues of Pakistan, or the issues of Syria, or the issues of Egypt, like that. And not only in terms of politics, you may select some issues just like feminism, or human rights, or children's rights, or the conflicts between Muslim countries and America and United States, something like that. But also understand political Islamic group such as the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt, okay, and the Hamas that is been fighting Israel, and Hisbollah, which is based in Lebanon. Now you have seen the news, the blast in Lebanon. So some say that the Hisbollah kept that ammonium nitrate, store it in that site in some places, in order to bring it to make some weapons to fight Israel. The Hisbollah and the Jamaat Islami, the word, there's two words. Jamaat is mean the group, and Islamiyah is Islam. It means the Islamic group. In short, you can say JI, but this is not JI in Indonesia, but JI in subcontinent. It's the the Jamaat Islamiyah, or JI in Pakistan, India, and Bangladesh, and some tiny groups in Indonesia use this term, JI. Jama'ah is mean group, and that Hisbollah is 2 words also, Hizbah and Allah. Hizbah is mean the party, and Allah name of God. So Hisbollah means party of God or party of Allah. The course will also focus on the broader missions of the organizations of Islamic cooperation and some main organizations. Learning outcomes or objectives of this course. First thing, that when you choose to learn this subject, Islam and global politics, then you will know the Islamic concepts that inspires the politicians and Islamists in all Muslim modern nation states. Just like when you learn this Islam and global politics, then you see that why Malaysia choose to go the Islamic way, and Indonesia still go on with its own preference to choose secularism. So Islam inspire politicians and Malaysians, Malay peoples to move to this direction. Or even in Thailand. Thailand is not Muslim country. Thailand is certainly a Buddhist country. But why Thailand allow to have the government, the regime allow the countries to have Islamic bank? Because of what? Because of the teaching of Islam that inspire the Muslim people of Thailand, though they are minority. But by this belief, they believe that no, the true and stable Islamic, the true and stable monetary system is Islamic, or the just one. The just one must be the Islamic, not the conventional. Then even they were few, but they urge the government, maybe through member of parliament or to senators or to someone, that no, please allow the Muslim communities in Thailand to have Islamic bank. So this is also Islam and global politics. It play role even in Thailand. But not that they want to take the country. They want to conquer the country. No. They will believe that, you know, that a Muslim in Thailand, to compare with Muslim in Indonesia and Muslim in many others Muslim countries, even in Arab countries, Muslim in Thailand generally they are very religious. They are very strict and religious. So those who learn something about Islamic monetary, they will believe that no, we must restore the Islamic monetary system. It will be blessing things to the humanities, but first to the Muslim communities. So the Muslim community in Thailand, through their elites and their educated ones, though they were very few, and one of them also qualified from Hamas universities. They translated books and urged the general Muslim people to see the importance of Islamic bank. After 4-5 decades, they managed to convince the politicians or senators and members of parliament to draft the act of Islamic Bank Act พระราชบัญญัติธนาคารอิสลาม Then it come to us like this. So like in this case, most modern nation states emerge in the secular style, but Islam inspired people in its country to struggle to implement more teachings in Islam, but things will be differ from one place to another place. Just like you might have heard the names of Al Jazeera. From last 7 decades and 6 decades, the Muslim world feel that the Jews and the West control media. Everything is in their hand. So there were wars between Israel and Arab countries. So the Arab people feel that Jews and the West, not all of them, some Western people control the media. So we must try our best to have our own media. By this, among 57 Muslim countries, only one success, and that is Qatar. So Qatar tried their best to establish this significant television channels, Al Jazeera. And now, soon after its establishment, it emerged as one of the conventional media. It can compete now BBC and CNN. So by this, it comes to this to know the Islamic concept that inspire the politicians and Islamists in all modern nation states. So it inspire people to come back to Islam or to implement Islamic teachings, but within its own context, in Malaysian context. So in Malaysia, it fit to struggle in the field of economics, education, and Islamic thought like that. In Thailand, the Muslim people are minority. They do not wish for ruling the countries, except deep south that some believe in independence. That matter will come after some time. But here, majority of Muslims in Thailand, they realize that they are minorities. They do not hope for big things. They just hope for something that allow them to live life of good Muslims, just like education. So the Ministry of Education may allow their children to dress according to the Islamic teaching. So just like the โรงเรียนกทม the Bangkok Metropolitan School, Bangkok Metropolitan run hundreds of schools in Bangkok and suburb in Bangkok. So you can identify that a student in grade 2, 3, 4, 5, boy student. If boy student wear short one, and non-Muslim, and those students who wear a long pantaloon, long dress, Muslim boys, okay, like that. So Muslim in Thailand wish that they may live a life of good Muslims in field of education and monetary system like Islamic Bank, and now Takaful. You may go to Google TAKAFUL, Takaful, even in Thai or in English. It means the Islamic insurance, Islamic system of insurance. So each and every Islamist or good Muslims in different parts of the world struggle by receiving the influence of the Islamic influence and the inspirations to move toward Islam in different ways, in different natures and systems. Second thing, you will know the differences between Islam and the West. This is the most important thing. There are many good things in Western system. The West provide humanity many good things. We have to realize, we have to accept. But many things also it go beyond equilibrium. So for good Muslim believe that no, the West must bring many things, must bring rest of things to come into equilibrium. Not so extreme in secularism like that. But the West go its way. The West has its own belief and natures. Just like now, something clear why the world is suffering from COVID-19. You may see something that they do believe, they do firm belief in freedoms, in human rights, in private rights, something that now become a harm things to them, like that. That's why Islam, the Muslim people believe that no, the West invent and produce many good things, but all things must come in the balance. Not so extreme in secularism. What mean by that? So extreme in secularism, you refuse Dhamma. You refuse Dhamma. That's why in this study, in this class, in this subject, you will, after learning this thing, not to wait till next 15 class or 14 class. After you learn it for 5 lectures, you will realize the difference between the West and Islam. And now no more doubt that someone could not find answer that why Muslims do not like the West and why the West do not like Muslim or do not like Islam. You see, in Thailand, we have no problems about wearing hijab. In Thai society, in Thai administration, we do not have that. Only minor things, simple. But in France, it is a serious thing. In public school or the school that run by the state, the female student, girl student cannot wear hijab to attend class in France. Or Muslim women cannot go to offices, government offices in different ministries with their hijab. It's very serious thing. Why? You have to understand the background of France. Last 2-3 centuries, French people was having something like civil war between church and the state, between believing in humanism, that man is greatest and greater than God, more important than church, than God, than the holy teachings, something like that. So by this conflict, they came to the conclusion that the church accept the victories of the world, victory of the state. So France declared republic, and it become true secular state, true secular republic. That no signs and influence of religion may shine in the public area, may shine on the streets and public areas. No religious procession for Saint Mary or Saint Dominic or Saint Franciscan to be carried through French streets. You can celebrate within your own areas, your own monasteries, your own monasteries, but not to come out in public areas, because public area in France is for secular world. By this, it's become religion of French people. It's become norm of French people that you do not show the signs of religion to the public sight. Then everybody come to the public area with no sign of religion. So what happened? After World War II, numbers of immigrants came to settle in France from its former colonies, from Algeria, from Syria, from Lebanon, from Morocco. They were Muslims. They were pious Muslims. They were very religious Muslims. They were poor, and they know nothing about French culture. They know nothing about European history. They know nothing about the conflicts between church and state. And they do not realize anything about values of secularism or values of republic. No, they don't know. They know only they're looking for bread, looking for job. So when they came, first generation, then second generation, then third generation. Now they send their children to school. After some time, they began to wear hijab. So teachers in school realized that, oh no, Fatima, oh no, Zainab, you cannot come to public place with religious sign, with anything that indicate the religious influence. Yes. If you want to practice religion, you practice in your house, in your private places, or you go to mosque. No, not to come in public area. In public, no religion. So this France is one of the true example of the West. Yes. Then you might have heard news that some white people kill their own people, just like in Norway or somewhere. Last 4 or 5 years, they considered and killed them in order to protest the regime, the government. That what's wrong with you? You allow Muslim people to come to migrate to our lands and settle over here, and they bring religious teachings. They appear here and there with their religious dress. No, this country is for secular. It's country for Europe. We roam the world once. Our forefathers roamed the world and conquered the world and colonized the world, and we forced them to get rid of their own religious dress, and we introduced to them the secular dress. You know secular dress? Oh, necktie, this and that, coat is secular dress. When people want to go to United Nations, the diplomats and delegates from South Korea, from Japan, from Taiwan, from the Philippines, from Guatemala, when they want to go to United Nations, they wear secular one. This thing. Our forefathers roamed the world and colonized them, and forced them to get rid of the barbaric dress. Introduce to them the civilized one, but the civilized with secular, with no religion. But now you are allowing them from Afghanistan, very big turban, long tail of turban, and women wear burqa, wear big clothes, background, and roam cities in Scandinavian cities. Now you corrupt our culture. You corrupt our great culture. That's why they kill their own people in order to protest. Or what happened in New Zealand? That lone wolf also in Norway, and lone wolf in New Zealand kill Muslim in the mosque. Why? No. You are coming with religious idea, with barbaric cultures. This, so you have to understand. Number two, you will know the differences between Islam and the West. Without realizing that, you cannot become good scholar in IR. How can you become diplomats in each every country? You don't know the difference between both of them. If you become a diplomat and to be posted in Algeria, in Morocco, in Egypt, in maybe after some time in Afghanistan, okay, you have to understand the difference there. Or if you work in NGO or any great organizations, you must come sometime to the news about the conflicts between Islam and the West by this thing. Number three, you will understand the true values. The true values of Islamization, or the benefit of Islamization. Maybe no, I do not force you to realize its benefit. Everything here in this class is free. You are free to agree and not. Understand? But you have to get knowledge from it. Everybody who take this class has to get knowledge, a deep knowledge about Islam and global politics. But all of you are free to agree or not agree. This is the academic thing. Okay. And if you do not agree, you write it in the assignment or in the final examination. It's very good to express your own view, so I can learn and I can have some more ideas. Okay. And I can when I saw that you do not agree in such and such issues, then I learn. Okay, I learn new things, or I learn your ideas. I may adjust, or I may solve it. That's the matter of few years. Number three, okay, this one. You will understand the true values of Islamization that grows in most Muslim modern nation states. It grows gradually. It's not like the case of Iran. In Islam there are two main sects, Sunni and Shia. And Shia are minority. They are only 10%. So roughly say that if there are 1,500, more than 1 billion of Muslims, so 10% of them are Shia. Okay. So the Islamization is not like revolution. Most Sunni do not believe in revolution. They do not want sudden change, unlike Iranians. Even Iranian also, not majority of the people, but unlike that, they believe that no, we have already success in revolution, and we turn over one night, we turn countries from secular one the secular that run by Shah, by the king, to become Islamic countries. Within night, they change the country. But most Sunni people do not believe that. See Malaysia, 5 decades, and there's a long way to the perfect, long time, and maybe less of hope also, because so many complex things that the West planted so many things to be obstacle. Even in Indonesia, the country choose to appear as secular country, but the country is also, the regime also freely allow its own people to implement Islam by their own, or to Islamize their own life, their own organizations, their own education system by their own. So in Indonesia, for the case of in Indonesia, the country go secular, but the regime also allow people to go on their own, whatever you like. So Islam also is strong in Indonesia, but not from the state, but from the public, from the civil roles. Number 4, you will understand the Islamic influence in global politics. These are everywhere. And anyhow, the conflicts between Islam and the West is still going on, and the West is still supremacy. But you can realize that in many places and areas, Islam become more stronger and stronger, but gradually, slowly, as well as naturally. So for the case of jihadis and extremists and terrorists, there are few. More than 1 billion of Muslims, only 100 and 1,000 of them only. And also they disunite. But they do big things. Okay. They harm the human society. Of course, we have to understand that. But they will few. But they are few. They are not many. Okay. So learning outcome, after you will know, you will realize the four objectives of this. Then what will you learn? For first lecture, you will learn about the introductions to the concept of politics in Islam. Maybe this class after break. Okay. Then next lecture, you will learn about Islam and the West. This is also one of the important things, okay, that will equip you knowledge about the differences between Islam and the West. Number 3, from colonialism to post-independence. Now you see that the West ruled Muslim world and colonized all Muslim world. But when they gave them independence, the Muslim peoples, the Muslim countries emerged in shape of modern nation state. And in shape of modern nation state, now 57 of them or 58 of them become members of United Nations. That Thailand has to deal with them. Thailand has to deal with Morocco or Syria or Egypt or even Iran or Pakistan or Indonesia or Malaysia. So this thing will enable you for your next career and job that okay, it's quite easy for me. I know these parts of the world and not only in one particular area. In North Africa, countries in North Africa like Egypt, Libya, Tunisia, Algeria, Morocco, and countries in Sub-Sahara, Chad, Niger, Mali, something like that. The country in Central Africa, the countries in East Africa like Somalia, Sudan, Eritrea, like that. Country in the Middle East, Syria, Lebanon, Jordan, Turkey, Iran. Then in the Gulf, Qatar, Bahrain, UAE, Oman, even Saudi Arabia, and countries in South Asia, Pakistan, Afghanistan, India, Bangladesh. In India, even in India, now the Muslim population in India is touching 200 million. And in our own area, in our own region, Southeast Asia, in ASEAN, yes, if you have to be appointed to work, to be posted in Indonesia, then you know, in Malaysia, in Brunei. So lecture number 4, pioneers of Islamic revivalism. What does it mean by that? You imagine the Muslim world before European colonization. They live in medieval environment. What means by medieval environment? Just like Thailand in the age of King Rama III. And what comes at the time of King Rama IV? The British Viceroy knocked the gate of the country. Open your own country. Sign the agreement. Sir John Bowring's agreement. And this agreement changed the nature and elements of Thailand. Okay, like that. So when the West came by force, captured the land and ruled the country, and within one night it overturned the country and changed the country from Islamic atmosphere to secular one. There were some scholars, there were some thinkers that no, we have to adjust ourselves. We see benefit in Western knowledge. Western systems are also good, but we have to bring it into balance. Then there will be great figures who pioneer the Islamization, but here it's called revivalism. Revive the teaching of Islam and renew the teaching of Islam. And these numbers of pioneers differ from one place to another place. In Egypt, in Saudi Arabia, in Turkey, in Pakistan, India and Pakistan, something like that. And they become models for those who come up after them to learn their wisdoms, their intelligence to implement Islam. Lecture number 5, the issue to simplify the issues of Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is one of very, very important Muslim countries. Even now, it's our bad relationships, foreign relationship between Thailand and Saudi Arabia also suffer Thailand, also harm Thailand. Saudi Arabia is an important country, but you have to know. Then in 9/11, the Pentagon say that, or what we call CIA said that those who involved in 9/11, majority of them belong to Saudi Arabia. They were Saudi citizens. Like that. They were jihadis or extremists and terrorists, something like that. So here we will learn about the Saudi matters, the Saudi issues. Lecture number 6, the establishment of Israel and Palestinian issues. This also involved in international relationships in many areas, in many issues. Okay. And also the Palestinian issues also become main obstacle between Muslim world and the West, between Muslim world and Europe and America, because America and Europe support Israel, support the establishment of Israel. Number 7, Muslims in India. By learning this, you will understand the conflicts between India and Pakistan. And conflict between India and Pakistan is quite important also. It can shake the world. Yes. Number 8, lecture number 8, the Muslim League, learning some organizations and school of thoughts in the subcontinent in South Asia. Lecture number 9, ISIS or IS or Islamic State of Iraq and Sham. Sham is the Arabic term for Greater Syria. Syria was once a single piece of land, which was very, very large. Then, at the end of 19th century, the land fall into the colonization of Ottoman Empire, the Turkish Empire. But at the dawn of 20th century, the World War I broke out and brought the fate of Ottoman Empire. The Ottoman Empire collapsed. Before Ottoman Empire collapsed, it withdrew its troops from most areas. The Ottoman Empire ruled 3 continents: Eastern Europe, North Africa, and the Middle East. So they withdraw troops from these 3 continents to defend its homeland, its mainland in Anatolia and Europe. Then the Greater Syria or Sham has no one to protect. By sowing this chance, French government sent troops to capture northern parts of Sham. Sham means Greater Syria. They sent troops to capture northern parts of Sham. And the British Empire sent troops to capture southern parts of Sham. Then the French government divided northern area that they captured, divided it into 2 pieces. The bigger one, the French government named it Syria. The smaller one, the French government named it Lebanon. Now come to the British. When the British controlled southern parts of the land, It also divided the land into two pieces. One is Transjordan, another one is Palestine. But after some time, then the British allowed Transjordan to gain independence, but hand over Palestine to Israel. So Islam and global politics also. It will never-ending conflicts. Okay. Lecture number Sham. So IS mean Islam. I mean Islamic. Second S mean state, Islamic state. And I mean Iraq. And S, the last one, the last letter means Sham. And Sham mean former lands before it was divided into Syria, Lebanon, Transjordan, and Palestine. Now you can understand the ideas of the jihadis. Okay. Lecture number 10, the return of Islam in Turkey. Last 2 weeks to 3 weeks, they reconvert Hagia Sophia from museum into mosque. Hagia Sophia was once main cathedral of the Orthodox Christians. And we will learn that. Now it means that truly signs of the return of Islam to Turkey. Islam and global politics, not Islam and Turkish politics. Lecture number 11, Muslim Brotherhood, Hamas, the Iranian Revolution, and Hisbollah. Maybe I will invite Dr. Charan to talk on this. Number 12, political impasse and cultural opportunities of Islamic movements in modern Indonesia. Before gaining independence, Indonesians Muslim scholars wanted that Indonesia may emerge as a true Islamic nation before independence. Then they fought with Holland, with the Dutch, long times. Then the Japanese came in World War II. Japanese came, and the Japanese support them in order that they expel the Dutch. So they were equipped with weapons and strengthened by the Japanese. They become big forces. But when Japanese lost the war in World War II, the Dutch returned. But the Dutch were very weak due to World War II. So the Dutch was about to hand over the independence to give independence to the Indonesian people. So Indonesian people want to establish Islamic State. Then you will learn that why they received independence, but why they could not establish Indonesia to appear as one Islamic state. Why it allowed Indonesia to appear as secular state. So here is called political impasse. Number 13, Islamization in Malaysia. And this already I told you. Number 14, now you can discuss. Now you can imagine what are the cause of unrest in deep south of Thailand for the Pattani issue. Because at the time of signing Sir John Bowring agreement, so after that the British were very much aggressive. They demand lands, and they began to capture most sultanates in Malaysia, in old Malaya. nearly 10 sultanates they possessed, they captured. So they were very aggressive and they demand Bangkok to return the sultanates that Bangkok possessed. And the Siamese government possessed 4 Malay sultanates. One is Terengganu, one was Terengganu, second was Kedah. Siamese people call it Saiburi. One was Terengganu, second was Kedah, third was Kelantan, fourth was Pattani. These 4 sultanates, 4 Malay sultanates that the Siamese government possessed it, colonized it. But now the British came and colonized Pahang, Selangor, this and that. Then the British aggressive demand, no, return it to me. Give on to me. That's the word negotiation. In 1909, the British, the Siamese noble and high-rank official agree to return 3 of them, to hand over 3 of them to the British Empire, and humbly ask British to allow Siamese government to keep 1. And you can imagine which was the one that the Siamese government humbly request the British government to allow Siamese government to keep it. It was Pattani. Now what happened? When the British left Malaya and hand over independence to them, they become prosperous. Their sultans and kings become billionaires. Now politicians and activists began looking to the former nobles of Pattani that become very poor, selling chachak, this and that. And this thing can recruit numbers of young men that look, Siamese government has humiliated us and suffer our people, we are poor, and look to Malaysian people. So this is global politics. Actually it's not all about Islam. It is only Malay ethnic group, Malay nationalism. But the easy tool, say something about Islam. Okay. So, in conclusion, okay, is there any questions concerning? Yes.
Can we all have a bus?
Yes, they will bring to you after break. Okay. Please apologize for that. So now, if there is no other questions, you may go for break for the European time, European standard time for 10 minutes, not ASEAN time. ASEAN time become 17 minutes in that. Okay, within Europe, within Western time. Okay.